All right, guys, Merry Christmas. This is our 4th episode, and it's a Christmas special. And our present to you is the present moment. And this episode is going to be dedicated to the present moment. It's where we always thought we were, but we rarely have been. We're going to define it and get down to it. The present moment is your higher self awareness of itself.
Joe, how do you feel when you're in the present moment?
When I'm in the present moment, first of all, it's fleeting always, so I'm not trying to claim that I do it as often as I would like to, but I understand that it is the sacred place. It is nirvana and heaven, and it's super obtainable. But saying that, being in the present moment what is being in the present moment, or what did you say?
What does it feel like to you?
It feels like perfection, peace, oneness. It is oneness, but it feels like it too. Like it's a knowing of what oneness is.
I was about to say, for me, it's clarity. Because I always feel I feel conflicted a lot of times. Really, all the time. I always have. But when I'm like truly there with myself, I feel just everything seems brighter. Just very clarifying for me. That's what it feels like for me to be in the present moment. I would say that's like that. If I had one word, that would be my word. It's clarity.
Yeah, I think that's a great word. It reminds me of Minority Report, Tom Cruise. Clarity.
I've never seen it.
It's a drug of the future.
Okay.
And it gives you clarity, which is a complete misconception, because even the best drug gives you a version of clarity, but it's nothing compared to the real thing.
Yeah, it's really not.
Regardless, we will start to build a foundation for understanding and observing those differences, so that we can adjust and come out of this thing. Because even though this is a Christmas special and we're going to keep it light, I want to underline the theme of the Matrix, because it is the theme that I'm going with, the red pill, the blue pill. We're in this thing, so I'm going to make little innuendos, and then I'll wrap it up in a future episode. But right now we're going to keep it light and talk about what it's all about, and that is the present moment.
So being in the present moment is really you acting as your higher self, right?
I think so. From what I am understanding, that resonates. And typically what rings to be true is true, if you're in that operating system.
Let's talk about intuitive knowledge. So like whenever I was coming across this information, we've had things that you would say have light bulb moments, to where you intuitively know that this is truth, like this is true knowledge, but you know it from inside. I guess I'm gonna ask maybe what's the breakdown of that?
I think how I recognize the difference is knowing my ego and understanding my general knowledge of things and what that looks like based on what it has always looked like prior to this awakening, or whatever you want to call it. But I remember everything from that perspective, and now I have a different perspective, and the overlay, that higher self, is a filter, and I can just I always think of it like shuffling the cards, lay them out, whatever I need to put back in the pile and reshuffle, lay it out, just like playing Texas Hold'em. You have your 5 cards that you're working with, and when you see those 5 cards, you can move them to best align what you're trying to do, and for everybody else that's playing along. And so I always think about this information sorting like a deck of cards, and I'm trying to get my face cards up and align the way that actually makes sense in a congruent way, at least for me at that time, because it is evolving always. And so your cards may lay out a certain way one time, and then later on when you reassess, you will find that you need to rearrange those cards a little bit, because this is an evolution. And I think a lot about the Oracle whenever she tells Neo, and Neo wants to tell Morpheus and tell Trinity what the Oracle told him, and they always shut him down and say, that was for you, Neo, it doesn't matter to us. And in the process of this thing, everybody is different. Everybody's going to have a different approach and a different understanding at that time. And so they need to keep it loose and just keep shuffling the cards and do that, go through the process. And I think that my saving grace in this was you getting your wisdom teeth cut out, because I was foaming at the mouth and just wanted to tell you every new thought that came to my mind, because to me, it was always the truth. And then later I discovered, hey, we need to revise that edition. So it was a process and an evolution to get to where I am now. And the badass part is to know that I am not there, and to know that getting there is not the goal. It truly is the journey. We kind of know where the end goal is, but we're going to live in the sweet spot forever.
I was about to say, you can't, whatever future you imagine for yourself, you're never going to be in the future. You are now, here and now, in the present. You can't go back in the past, no matter if you wanted to or not. You can't go to the future. Like, you only live right here, right now.
Yeah.
So don't get caught up in what you're looking for, next week, or what you're looking for, if you're trying to deal with something looking in the past, don't get too caught up in that.
I think it would be good to insert, when we talk about the observer aspect, think about where your thoughts are right now. Are they in the past, or are they in the future? They're probably not in the present, if you're truly honest with yourself. And if you can catch the fact that you're not in the past, or that you are in the past, or you're in the future, then it's just like what, I struggle with meditation, but it's kind of the same thing like meditating. You get distracted and your mind wants to wander and go to these places, and you have to learn to give into that, but be aware of it, to focus, to bring it back.
Yeah, it's okay to be excited about the future.
You should be excited.
And to reminisce on your past, but don't live there.
Yeah. You're robbing yourself of your ever-present present.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. So what they call intuition, your gut feeling. How do you know that if, like, when you learn something new and it resonates, I guess, like you said, you do need to go back to it every now and then, because it's not what you're reading or seeing or experiencing that changes, it's really you that changes, right?
Yeah.
So
I would say for that's when you keep it loose. You take the gift of noticing, and in the Bible, I think that from what I'm understanding, they always insert this, and the Bible talks about rebirth, being born again. It's in those moments of catching yourself, observing, and then choosing the path that works best for you based on what you're trying to achieve. If you're operating from love, then you're operating in the highest realm that you can, or density.
I want to ask you a question. I know that everybody I talk to they all always talk about what's happening next to them, or what they're gonna do next, what they're gonna get next, where they're gonna go next. Do you think that our world, the world that we live in right now, purposefully takes us away from that present moment, and how do they do that?
I don't think that our world does it naturally. I think that the system,
That's what I meant, is
the system that's been implemented does that because it understands creation. It has reverse engineered it to mimic it. That's why our cell phones, everything that we're into is right there. Everything that you want is on your cell phone. That's why it's so attractive and so sucking you in, because it's got all your shit on it. Everything you're into is right there. And it is because they mirrored the universe. Our world, our reality is that way. We get exactly what we want. They're just telling us what we want in lieu of what our higher self really wants and really needs. So they're talking to the ego, and the ego is eating it up with a spoon. And our higher self is just chilling. Fucking, it's along for the ride.
Because your higher self doesn't need to learn. You know, spirit knows.
Yeah.
Spirit is knowing. It's being.
First of all, I want to tell you guys what she wrote in her notes about me the other day. She says, "I cannot stand working with Joey. Nightmare."
He is. Can be.
Can be a nightmare.
When you're not in the present.
I can also be a
moment.
dream. Sometimes.
Most of the time, you're a dream. But when you're a nightmare,
It's a
you're
horror
an
show.
awful nightmare.
My buddy Steve used to call me horror show. Not because I was a horror show. He just was always popping off shit.
I like this. There's always a gift in the present moment.
Yes.
Set with that. Think
Yes.
about that.
And while you think about it, I'll tell you about it, because good or bad, it's all in our perspective. And whenever you're in the observer mode or observer state, and you have the presence of mind to not react right away, there is always a gift. Bob Proctor was talking, whenever that interviewer guy back in the 80s was saying, what about a car crash? You know, you're on your way to work and you have a car crash, and Bob just pops off, there's something good in it. And that seems insane. You know, like, what the hell could be good about that? But sometimes we have to look for it, you know. We get caught up on that stuff too. You know, like, you cut me off in traffic, I'll take your bumper off. I'm not messed up about it. I'm working on that, but hey, we're working this shit out. You see a black 4Runner coming, you might want to move out of the way.
Would you say that when adversity steps in your path,
yeah, you know, you're consistently getting your ass beat and abused in some fucked up way, you know, those are different situations. And I mean, that might not be anything that you can make sense out of until later, when you're out of it and you're reflecting back on it from the observer position. And this is really what psilocybin journey can do, and some plant-based medicines that's done in a clinical setting. Now, I mean, playing around with that stuff and playing around is one thing, but using it to work through a trauma is completely different. And what it does is, they say that it shuts down the flight or fight part of your brain and allows you to be in that observer mode, which what we're working on and what we're trying to thread together for you guys is how to do that in your everyday life. Now that's a slower process. Yeah, you could go to some holistic clinic and go, trip balls on ayahuasca or do a hero's dose of psilocybin. Those are ways and methods, but I don't know where to do that.
It can be a little
at.
shocking to your system
Yeah.
as well when you do that. So just know, like, if you've ever heard of the Kundalini awakening, they are, it's wonderful to meet your higher self, but if you're not exactly prepared to confront a lot of stuff that will come up, because it's everything you've ever experienced, good or bad. I don't really like to say that because no experience is really bad, but I think you understand what I mean. It can shake your world.
I want to say this. Was it last night or the night before? I think it was last night. But we just understood in the process of me waking up, I think that I'm understanding that's what happened to me.
No, that's exactly what happened to me.
And it was, for me, it was the third time was the charm, because on that episode where I talk about Haley loving me sane, I'm not real clear about that, because the 2 times
we weren't real clear about it until literally last night.
Yes. So this is cool how we realize this, and I will talk on the 5th episode. I want to talk about this stuff more in detail, but I believe that is how I got to where I am now. I had my 3rd awakening, or trying to awaken, and thank God that I was with Haley, and she maybe didn't have enough sense to call in some reinforcements, and she dealt with my
I had
ass.
enough sense. I knew you weren't crazy. Like, you weren't acting crazy. You were just saying some wild shit. The only reason it was wild, though, is because I had never been presented with that information before. So, kind of coming back to, you fear the unknown. I really think that you should welcome it with open ears, And
we're going to talk about that on the 5th episode, so y'all get ready. I think that on the 5th episode, we should really dive into that experience. And I always knew that we were going to talk about that, and I've been waiting on the 2 clowns that used to work here to kind of wake up and get on board, because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
How can we tell our viewers some tips on how to be in the present moment, or how to come back to, like, whenever you catch yourself, maybe dwelling on something that happened in your past, or something that you're maybe anxious about in the future, or excited. It could be either one, both past or future. What are some ways that, like, maybe you and I'll tell you some of mine, how I return to the present moment?
I think I just get lucky and catch it.
Okay.
I don't
So
claim
it's
to
not
have
an
any
intention?
skills.
It's not an intention with you. It's just don't you think that it should be an intentional
Well, it should
thing?
be, but
Like, when you find yourself thinking about that 80 mil and what you're going to do with it, you don't think that you should come back from it? Or do you think you should stay there?
well, I know what I'm going to do with it now, so I don't have to go there anymore.
You know what I'm asking.
Yeah, but what it is, I don't practice this stuff very well. What I think is really helpful is, let's just take that podcast with Gabby, whatever her name was, that was on Know Thyself podcast. That was beautiful, and it will come in clear as mud when you listen to it, depending on your frequency. And I think that you could either read a book over and over and over, or you could watch a really awesome podcast over and over and over. But repetitiveness, it's the same way that we learn any skill. The mother of all skill is repetitiveness. I think, whatever the hell that's.
Repetition.
Repetition. Yeah. So, isn't that it? The mother of all skill? Is that what they say?
I'm not aware.
The mother of all skill is what did you say? Repetition. I gotta ask my phone if that's what it is. I think that's it. The mother of all skill.
Okay.
I'm getting hung up on that.
You
word.
are your repetition.
Repetition.
Mother
Repetition
of all
is hard
skill
to say.
is repetition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll find out if that's true or not. But
It's true, regardless whether it says it or not. It's true.
my ways are, well, for one, I've got a precious angel of a puppy, and he always brings me back to the now. Always. It doesn't matter if maybe he's a little irritating me a little bit, or if I'm absolutely just in love, melting all over him. He brings me back to myself, and he makes me very aware of where I am emotionally, mentally, and physically. You know, I run around with him all the time, so like if I'm struggling that day physically, I'm like, whew, I need to give my body a little love, you know, like I need some self-care here. So he brings me back, for one. For two, I don't do it as much as I used to since I do have my dog, but meditating, it used to really bring me back to the present. And also, like Joe was talking about, the observer mode, I really notice that I tap into it very fast when I am applying myself to that, when I'm surrendering to the moment, I should say. Also breathing techniques. I love doing yoga. Reading also helps me come back to the present moment, even though that's kind of might be contradictory to some. Like if you're reading a fictional book and you're like, oh wow, this you know, whatever is going on in so-and-so land is cool, but it feels almost meditative to me. So those are just a couple ways that I come back from the present to the present moment. It could be you going on a walk, you know, seeing your environment around you, or
anytime you find a way to slow down to the point to where you rewind and you find yourself back at the present. I think any practice that does that for you is right on. But I do struggle with meditation to the point to where I can't stand it. I know that's something I have to get over.
With that being said, he literally meditated for like 2 weeks straight on his lunch every day. So don't let him
guided meditation.
It doesn't matter.
With an alien.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, I'm gonna be tying aliens into this shit. Don't you forget episode 3 and
all of our
episode 2.
episodes will be connected in some form or fashion. Just keep that in mind.
Yes.
But let us know what some of your ways are to connect back to the present, and how you feel when you do.
And within this episode 4, the present of being present, I want to give you a stocking stuffer, and that stocking stuffer is 5 minutes of meditation. Meditation is tricky. If you're already doing it, you do yoga and things like that, you're used to it. I'm talking to the people that are not doing that. People like me who, that's woo-woo stuff, and you don't do it.
Let me add this in. Even if you don't meditate, even if you don't do breath work, yoga, all the guru sounding stuff, I've listened to people who go into a meditative state while they're running, while they're exercising, while they're riding.
Hey,
you can tap into any of these moments at any time.
Sitting in a deer stand, I think that would be badass.
Sitting in a deer stand, literally. It doesn't matter what it is. Try to figure out when you are most present and see if you can tap into it more.
But here's the thing I want to say, because I'm getting this from Lee Harris. 5 minutes is meditating 5 minutes a day. Every day is better than meditating 12 hours a day, 3 days a week. 5 minutes a day, every day is better than hit or miss. 5 is a sacred number, and I think I might be starting to understand the implications of the number 5. Did I say letter? Anyway, 5.
You may have.
The number 5 is 5 minutes. Even if you are going to meditate longer, set aside 5 minutes. I think that we will learn the significance of that later. And here's the deal. I don't do this, okay? I'm telling you things that I do not do. It's December the 18th. I am going to start it today. I've always looked at it like this. The number 555 is important to me. It's an angel number. I don't remember what it means exactly. It's change, right? It represents change.
We saw that, twice in the same day, and it was literally just like maybe even an hour between it. We were on our way home, set it on the clock, and then on our YouTube channel with how many views and maybe likes it had, it was 55 and then a 5, so 555, and we were like, oh.
Hey, and also,
serendipity. But
when you think about all this stuff, remember what it was like to be a kid. And also think about your narrator. The name of the show is Fool Awakening. It's because the fool is telling you this stuff. I've lived a certain life, and although that is still me, it is not me. From this day forward, I will never be who I was again, nor do I want to be. But, you know, I like aspects of that, and I'm never going to lose it. So keep it. You get to keep what you kill. But the 5 minutes a day, that's a Riddick reference for my movie Go Hards out there.
Okay, I was like...
Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying. 5 minutes a day. We all got to do it. If you meditate for 5 minutes a day, you still have 55 minutes left. 5, 5, 5. 5 to thrive. I'm going to do it. So
what? Next time we're on the channel again, you're gonna hear how Joe's 5 minutes a day goes.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. That's right.
All right. So the next thing I want to get into is why is being in the present moment most important? It's because you get to know thyself.
Yes.
Right.
This is what it's all about, and I think I've made quite a few little innuendos. I'm not quite sure what made it onto the show that y'all have seen, because Haley edits out a lot of crap that I say, because I say a lot of crap.
I don't think
we ever got to it. We made a little innuendo about Eric Hecker and what you said something that he says
I
on
may
the
have
show.
cut that out.
I know you did.
But yes, Eric Hecker, one of the whistleblowers from June the 12th, and also on Sean Ryan's show, he talks about this.
He talks about it on the Sean Ryan show.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen that, you must see that.
It's wonderful for many aspects, but especially this part of him saying this. Sean Ryan asked him, what's one thing you want to leave the viewers with? And he said, out of everything that he talked about, aliens and all these crazy programs that go on, he said, know thyself. I think that there's a reason for that.
Specifically was what he wants people to understand is there is a war going on, but it's not a war like you've ever seen before. It is not being played out on the battlefield. It is being played out here, the battlefield of the mind. This is the real estate that they really care about, and maybe in episode 5 I will finally be able to get more into the Matrix aspect of it, and hopefully this is building a picture in your mind and starting to loosen you up to it. Understand this, that what we think about, we bring about, and if you can control the minds of the majority, you can control the Matrix. But they can't control it much longer.
And with that being said, Dr. Greer also talks about what the final frontier being, and a lot of people think it's space, our exploration of space, and it's not. He says it's consciousness. That's the final frontier. So.
And for everybody out there that remembers me batshit crazy, that was the war machine in action.
Oh,
the war machine becoming the love machine that I hope that I can be.
Not hope that you are.
I am, but that's for them to decide. when I need to be, I can War Machine up in a hurry.
Well, it's a good thing that is soon to pass. We're going into a conscious state here. But what I was gonna say was, dang it, I lost it. It was about Greer too, and you messed me up.
Greer talking about the final frontier is.
Oh, he said, yes, he said, whenever Greer talked about the final frontier being consciousness, he was talking to
He was talking
the it's not Congress, but
the
their
board,
their ex what?
their ex-congressmen,
Yes,
senators.
senators.
The panel, what they refer to them as the UFO disclosure panel on the episodes that we talk about, not the episodes that you guys are finding on your news sources.
No.
This stuff will never, ever, ever be on your news.
No. It won't.
So
back to the present moment and knowing thyself, as we were saying, the reason it's important is because you get to start to experience what your higher self, your true self, is communicating with you. And how we were talking about how there's some knowledge you come into contact with that you intuitively know. Your higher self is the one who recognizes this intuition, this knowing without having really known before, if that makes any sense at all.
and that stuff is all the badass shit that your mama told you that rings true till this day. Has absolutely nothing to do with the ego. It was said in love and meant to ease your suffering or your development in some way. Those are the words and the truths that we know to be true. We're going to learn as we elevate our vibration and come into resonance with our higher selves. We'll be able to distinguish between those two things. And whenever you watch TV and you see someone's energy, you will see through that energy, regardless of what they're saying. You will understand it either as being their ego, and you can take that for what it's worth. But sometimes, every time, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So don't discount information regardless of where it comes from, because we are all interconnected, and a person might not have any clue what they're saying because in their context they're talking about something different, but you're working something out in yourself and what they're saying rings true. You take it and you put it in your pocket till later, and then you do that throughout your day, and at the end of the day you pull all that shit out and you see what's there, and you're probably going to have some treasures.
To go along with what I was saying about the present moment, there it's in Psalm 46:10 is be still and know that I am God. Or maybe that's not the one that's in the
There's
Bible.
many different translations,
but basically
and we'll get
it's,
into that stuff later.
Yeah, but basically it's be still and you will know.
That's what the one I like. Be still and know. Be still and know. That's the simplistic. That your
yes.
page has on the wall. Be still and know.
And that's literally saying present moment, you will know.
Yeah.
Intuitively, you will know. Just whatever it is.
I want to say this because I am 48 years old and I've never really messed with YouTube. I don't know much about my phone. So whenever Haley always talks about the links, I had her show me how to do it the other day.
No,
and
how to just look at them.
How to look
them.
at them. And it's still not that clear to me. So I want to help make those connections, and it is important to do your homework. And I want to make a distinction between when we use the term homework, we're referring to looking at this material. There's links and there's tons of it out there. That's homework. When we refer to doing the work, that is observing trying to be in the present and try until you get there. And it's work, and it's the best way to describe it.
What it really is you taking action. Your higher self is taking action whenever you do that. This knowledge that we're talking about, even if it doesn't make sense to you, you know it already.
I think what it is it's actually you taking action because you understand what your higher self is trying to tell you. So
yes,
your
that's what I was
ego
trying to say.
aligning with your higher self, it looks like something, and that what it looks like is taking action. So if you say to yourself, I want to get in shape, I am going to get in shape, and then you think, what would that look like? Are you going to literally think the weight off? I've been doing a lot of thinking. I'm still fat. So what it's going to look like, in order for me to lose my gut, it's going to look like putting on my shoes in the morning. It's going to look like walking away from all the sweets. That's taking action because you are
action mirroring
understanding
your higher self.
What's needed. So, just a little clarification.
Yep.
Okay. Let's proceed.
Okay, so let's get into our material that we want to show you guys. First book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Okay, let's do that better. Because we weren't in position. Okay, so action. This is why I'm a nightmare.
Always. It's never right until Joe does it. So just so you know. Anyways, we're gonna get into the material that we brought for you guys to explore if you want. First book is going to be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This is badass. This guy is 40s. Is it from the 40s? Or it's earlier than that, isn't it?
It's I think his material's from the 30s or 40s.
Napoleon Hill is awesome. I believe that he was brought into this information through Andrew Carnegie, and I loosely know a lot about Andrew. I don't know a lot about him. I just know that he was a heavy hitter, had a lot to do with everything around us, and you will start to put together, because Napoleon Hill talks about Henry Ford, he talks about Thomas Edison. Right now, I just happened to open it up, and he's talking about Carnegie. So everyone that was influential. Here's Charles Schwab. All right, I'm going to talk about a lot of these people in future episodes, and it might not be quite as nice, but regardless, the information is information, and Napoleon Hill was pretty much going around to all of the most influential men of the time in his time and interviewing them and trying to ascertain knowledge, and he did. And this book is full of it. And I think that in the very first page, he starts off by saying that, you know, within these first few pages, perhaps you will ascertain the secret to thinking and growing rich, to where you don't even need to read this book anymore. Why the hell would he say that? Does he not want you to finish it? It could just be genius writing, and I'm pretty sure that it was a little bit to do with it. But it is because it only takes what it takes, and it depends on you. How easy is this going to get in? How much do you want to resist it? That's why he said that you could figure it all out in the first few pages and not even need to read the book. But even if you do figure it out, you should read the book.
Let me add
Badass.
this in. Everything that we're going to show you, what it's truly reflecting, this is ancient knowledge. This is not new knowledge. This isn't something that
That's important.
Napoleon came up with in the 30s or 40s. It goes way beyond that.
Nothing that we ever say that makes sense and resonates with you is from us. That's
And
what makes
getting
it
back to
beautiful.
Yeah, and getting back to knowing true information through your gut, that's the ancient knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean,
So let's save this manifest because I want to really dive into it.
I want to get into
Yes.
one of my favorites, which is Becoming Supernatural. This is the first guy that, I guess, first one that I really dove into was Joe caught my attention. His information rang true to me intuitively. Somehow I knew that it was true. I could follow it. I could feel it. It was just an intuition following. So, Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's had a lot of interviews on a lot of different platforms. You can look him up on YouTube. Pretty sure he has his own platform as well. He does workshops that you can be involved in that we plan on being a part of.
For sure.
He helps people wake up, open their third eye, have Kundalini awakenings through none other than, he does it through breath work. But anyway, so you have anything to say about Joe?
I have a lot to say about Joe. Joe, I'm going to tell you a quick little story about Joe.
Yes.
Joe got his start. I believe he already knew this information, or at least partially. He was in a triathlon in New York, I want to say it was, back in the day. And he was on his bicycle in that portion of the race, got T-boned by some woman driving a big-ass Ford Bronco. And I used to drive a big Ford Bronco, so I know how much weight that damn thing has. Ran him over and drug him underneath the car for a hell of a while until she stopped. So anyway, he is crippled,
He was
paralyzed. Yeah, he was paralyzed. And they wanted him to do some kind of outrageous surgery. You know, it's what you would do in that situation.
Was crushed
in many places.
Yeah.
So he was not going anywhere fast, but he understood that he wasn't going anywhere fast then, and it didn't matter if he waited or if he did it a year from then, or he did it right then.
The surgery,
and so
right?
Surgery.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Hey, I have heard this information, these accounts of people being able to do this. I know about that. I'm going to try it. If I have time to make this decision, I'm going to take time." So from what I understand is he mentally rebuilt his spine in his mind, and he talks about how many times it took him to do it. And I don't remember what that time frame was, but
whenever he was able to do it all the way through, that's when the healing
in meditation happened. He did this work in his head while he was laying on his stomach or on back, whatever he was doing. He wasn't moving around. And whenever he did it to completion, and he knew that he did it to completion and he did it perfectly in his mind, that son of a bitch got up and got on his bike. I don't know if it went down exactly like that, but you see Joe, he's a ball of energy, and he is very animated.
Joe
and
is walking around, running.
He's a healthy man.
Whatever.
He's a very healthy man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so get your mind right and everything.
And what's wonderful about this book, it's not only there to, for me, it wasn't necessary, well, it is a healing of the body, but what is cool about this that is going to help a lot of people is there's a lot of books out there that I know that some people are not going to read because they think it's a bunch of hocus pocus, magic, whatever you want to call it.
And
this man literally takes, what's it called? He takes the spiritual aspect and the science, and he merges
it
them
together beautifully
in a wonderful way.
Check this out.
Very applicable as well. A very digestive read. It's like Joe has read half this book, and Joe doesn't read.
Joe hates to read. This
Joe.
This Joe probably loves it.
I love how we
Becoming Supernatural. Here's the deal. We are just going to become what we always were. We naturally are super. This way of thinking and existing is not natural at all. food for thought. All right. And this is a
It
book.
comes with a workbook as well.
It doesn't come with this. We found this and ordered it separate. So when you buy this book, you need to look for this if you know that it's out there.
But if you want something
Tangible that you
help
can
keep
work
you
through.
on track, which really always helps me because I'll read one thing and then see something else and start reading it and get on.
I never messed with that. I looked at the first page. I just don't do books that well.
He doesn't. He has listened to most of Joe's book. I have read. I'm a reader.
I like to hear.
So there's a little bit about Joe. Please check him out. He is, and his interviews are wonderful. And the reason is because he understands this knowledge so well. He puts it in the simplest of, way better than we ever could, simplest of terms for you to understand this.
Enough science mixed in and beautifully executed way of saying it to where it's just clear. It's heavy information, but you don't doubt it because he's eliminated all of that stuff with his clear, precise brevity in the way that he talks.
He also gives accounts of other people's that he has worked with personally, their stories and what they went through and how to literally rewire your entire system, your entire way of thinking, all your triggers, everything.
And
So
everything in this book, if there is a scientific way to observe it, they've done it. They've got people hooked up to machines, all kinds of scans and experiments.
this isn't just word of mouth with saying, "Oh, I feel different."
This is in depth as hell.
There's a lot of graphs in here. They do like energetic body scans. It's pretty awesome. So I truly recommend his book.
I recommend his book, especially for people that are hurting. If you have physical pain, a lot of his work is transcending that. And that's difficult because we get hung up on our pain.
Physical and mental, I will add. For me, Joe, if I didn't have Joe's book at the time, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't think the way I do. I did rewire myself, truthfully. I went through all of his steps to do that.
I was rewired. She rewired herself.
Yeah, his was like a cosmic
Thank God I was crazy. I mean, that's really the best way to look at it. I am so blessed that I am batshit crazy.
Anyway, so we're going to move on. I actually just finished this book last night. It was a wonderful read. Again, very easy for any. Hers is even easier to read than Joe's. That's kind of hard to top.
This book is so small, or so easily digestible, and such an easy read. The way that Bob Proctor carries around Think and Grow Rich, he tells people to get a good book and to read it and read it and read it.
If something resonates with you, don't read it once and put it down.
Here's the reason why.
And over again.
And I'm getting this from Bob. Bob said he got this from someone else, some other heavy hitter. But whenever you read a book all the way through the first time, and then you read it a second time, you are not seeing something that in the book that wasn't there before. You're seeing something in you that wasn't there before. So repetitiveness is important, because I can promise you from understanding this stuff, you don't understand it at first. And then when you reread it, it starts to click. And then when you reread it for the third time, it clicks. And so on and so forth.
It might always click with you.
Don't give up.
It's going to be in a different way every time, and it's beautiful.
And we're going to put in a link to a specific podcast with Jay Shetty. He's an incredible content creator and YouTube podcaster. You probably already know him. He's interviewed every single influential person on this planet. I believe that he is the #1 health and wellness podcast in the world. So Jay Shetty, it will be incredibly easy to find him, but specifically I want you guys to watch the interview that he does with Roxy Nafousi. It's incredible, and we're going to have a link to that.
Yeah. But this is manifest 7 steps to living your best life. And I do really like the part of living your best life, because in the book she talks about, yes, you know, you can manifest your whole world, your reality, everything.
We are doing it anyway.
But it's not just like a step-by-step program and then you stop. This is a way of living. To live just a better life, a more conscious life, where you're there, you're in the present moment all the time, observing what's truly happening, taking it in. So, finished it last night. I started it again last night. I'm a couple pages in already. I'm gonna see what else pops out at me for the second time. And for the last book,
I want to hold off on this last book. This is our finisher, our closer. And so I told you guys that we were always going to be tying everything in. So I'm going to tie this in right now. Let's deep dive into the aliens and all that good, crazy stuff. And I believe in the very first episode, I talk about Bashar. And I say that you guys can't handle Bashar. And that was very incorrect. Here's the deal. You can handle Bashar. It might be a little bit jarring at first because
I'd be a little uncomfortable.
If you're watching our show, then you probably have learned the degree of aliens, or you are learning the degree to which aliens are real in real time with us. So it might be a little bit shocking at first. But here's the deal. It's so perfect. It's so beautiful. It is the method that I use. Haley likes to use, she manifests and reads these books. I do not do this. There is a simple 5-step formula that I got from Bashar, and I am picking up from everyone else that is ringing true, saying what he's saying in a different way. But everything boils down to the 5-step method and formula that Bashar talks about, because Bashar is explaining how reality works. And I will leave this little nugget with you because in episode 5, I will probably go deep into some alien stuff, and I will show you guys several channelers. So you will be able to see people that are channeling, and I know that you will be able to handle it, because when you do your homework and you do a deep dive into all of these people, you will not be disappointed in any way. They're great people in their everyday lives. They all have jobs. They're doing something. Daryl Anki, who is the human that channels Bashar being the alien entity that he channels, Daryl Anki is in the film industry. He worked on the set of Star Trek, and Star Trek's the only one that I can think of, but lots and lots of movies. He does an escape room in whatever city that he lives in currently. That's what he's doing right now. Him and his wife have an escape room. So he's just a cool dude. And all of these people are great, and you will not find too many flaws. Yes, they're human beings, but they are all great people. They're living the life, and that's why they were chosen to do what they do. You're not going to find somebody out in the real world that's, you know, falling in and out of bars and getting into fights and just a complete mess. Those people don't channel. They might be allowing in some dark energy from time to time, but it's not channeled. They're just mixed up about that stuff. But the people that are channeling are true blue, and I'm going to show you a ton of that stuff in episode 5, or I might save it till 6, but I think we'll probably get into it with 5, because episode 5, I want to be about the 5th dimension and the fact that we are in it now. And the fact that we're in the 5th dimension, we're still hung up on the 3rd dimension, but
we're moving into the 4th and 5th dimension. We've been in the 3rd dimensional reality.
We're in it. We just don't know it. So whenever y'all start to do your homework and you do the work, after you do your homework and you realize, hey, there is some work to do, the fact that we are in the 4th and 5th dimension is what allows you to do it. In the past, it might have been a little bit more selective, the people that were able to shake themselves free of this, but it's time to shake yourself free now, but it will be you doing it. Nobody is going to do this for you. That's always been the case. If you've been in AA, then you know that to be true. But we all need to know that to be true. You're going to save yourself, and thank God you're the one in control, I think. I mean, that gives me an incredible peace knowing that I don't have to worry about anyone else. I worry about myself first, and then by virtue, then I care about everyone else. But that's what I want to say about Bashar, the way I work, and I chase my passion. I will...
Tell them about the 5-step.
I don't know the 5 steps per se, other than I keep it as simple as possible, and it is chasing your passion. Operating from love and chasing your passion is what I do, and that's all I do. I don't always operate from love, but I want to, and that is my work. My work is getting back to the basics. The basics are operate from love and do what you love. Do what you want, but in doing what you want, it could be ego-driven or it could be spirit-driven, and threading the needle and riding that wave is what I call doing the work for me. And some days are better than others. Some days I'm riding the wave, other days it's a bit choppy out there.
And you're gonna have days like that.
Yeah.
We have days like that.
There's no such thing as...
Even the channelers that we're talking about that are...
That's life.
They're pretty enlightened individuals.
Ebbs and flows, that's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. It's part of this human experience we're here to live.
And we're going to get into, in depth, the reason for the human experience.
It's evolution, just to give you a little insight there. But we're going to move on. He's going to read you a passage out of this book real quick.
I'm going to read you a passage. This is our Christmas special. And so, I told you guys that I'm going to read a book, and the book number is 324. So, let me find it here. I should have had a bookmark.
Definitely should have.
Wow, it's just like in church. Okay, here we go. This is not the Bible, but here we go. This is called The Time of Rebirth, and it is on page 324 in this book that I will get into after the fact. It is in your power in time to delay the perfect union of the Father and the Son. For in this world, the attraction of guilt does stand between them. Neither time nor season means anything in eternity. But here, it is the Holy Spirit's function to use them both, though not as the ego uses them. This is the season when you would celebrate my birth into the world. Merry Christmas. Yet you know not how to do it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you, and let me celebrate your birth through him. The only gift I can accept of you is the gift I give to you. I gave to you. Release me as I choose your own release. The time of Christ we celebrate together, for it has no meaning if we are apart. This is Christmas. We are celebrating Jesus. Jesus was sent here to free us.
Not his death, by the way.
Yes. His death.
A little caught up on
His
that.
death means nothing to me. If it means something to you, that's fine. I will never be hung up on his death because he lived. He lived. He supposedly came back after the crucifixion. He rose again. So let's not dwell on the crucifixion. He was alive before the crucifixion, and he said a lot of stuff. He said a lot of stuff. And then
we should focus more on that.
he came back to life supposedly. He lived. It is his life that matters. What he said matters. And whenever you understand the truth, the truth will always be uniting you to source, oneness. Anything that separates you from that has no place in eternity. It has no place anywhere. It's manufactured. Fear is manufactured. Separation is manufactured. There is only one. There is only the now. The here and now is presence. Tomorrow, you will presently be in the present. 2 years from now or 10 years from now, you will be in the present. To think about the future is to take you out of the present. To dwell on the past is to take you out of the present.
Not to say you can't tap into those from time to time.
Be mindful of everything.
Don't live there.
Keep your mind where it is.
Where your feet are here, that's where you need to be.
Yes.
Always kind of think about that.
Where your feet are is always in the present. Be in the present. This is, you know who that is. We all know who that is. We heard him, we've been hearing him our entire lives. We've never heard it quite like that, at least the majority. I have never heard it like that. And in this book, he gets into the ego quite a bit. The ego is the person who cares about the future. The ego is the one that's hung up on the past. We cannot separate ourselves from our ego, but we do need to let go of the ego's belief systems because it is a liar. The ego can guide you and drive you, and it always has and it always will. But whenever you align yourself to the higher self, the ego becomes your friend. Right now, he's probably your enemy. You're looking for your enemy outside of you. Nothing is outside of you. Nothing.
That's pretty true.
So, this is A Course in Miracles. This book is incredible, and to be honest with you, I have not read a lot of it because it is so heavy and it's so intense. And when I read it, I often cry. When I read it, it takes a minute for me to digest every sentence. It's incredible. But whenever you do your research and your homework to know who the woman who wrote this book in the 80s, I think, it will be shocking to you. I'm not even going to tell you about it. The name of the book is A Course in Miracles. I got this at Barnes & Noble. There's plenty of information out there on it. Do your homework. If you guys are not doing your homework, you're watching our show and you're just watching a few minutes of it and then you click it off, or you watch all of it and you click it off, and you are not going to the links. You're not watching the Sean Ryan show. You're not watching Danica Patrick, the recommendations that we're making. Why is that? Could it be that we're in the matrix and anything that bucks against that system, we don't like it? We don't like it. But here's the deal. If you're watching my show, you've taken the pill. It is in you and it is working. Do not resist. What you resist will persist. And every time you see us and we're talking to you, you got that big old poster in the background that says abide. Abide to me means allow. At first glance, the word abide sounds very conforming, and I don't like it necessarily. Hey, you need to abide. You need to do what I tell you. So I think of the word abide as allow, and becoming the observer and just letting things flow through me and deciding if I want to get excited about it or if I want to get pissed off about it, I must first understand it before I choose which path I'm going to go on a good day. And for me, that is abiding, that is allowing, and that's just a little food for thought that I just thought of. But that's it, guys. That's our Christmas show. And we're going to come back on episode 5, and we're going to hit it heavy on the 5th dimension.
We're going to talk more about manifest, being in the present moment. We're going to tie all that in, all of it. Everything's tied in. You'll find that out just through the knowing. But hit like and subscribe on the video, please, and check the description below for any links that we leave that we've talked about in the show. I will leave links to these books if you guys want to check them out as well. So until next time, we love you guys, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I want to say this. Jesus is the reason for the season, and that's true on a lot of levels. But what I want you to understand is that Jesus is not coming back. He never left. Every time I cut someone's hair, at the end of the haircut, I show them Jesus. Whenever they look, they see what they want to see. They're checking out their hair or they're looking at something on their forehead. But I am showing them Jesus. He has always been here. Let me be clear. Love you guys.
Thanks for
Merry
watching.
Christmas.